Welcome back, everybody, to my annual October ranking series. And this year we are counting down my 31 favorite horror movies from the 2010s. At number 28, we have the very fun, very entertaining horror comedy, All About Evil.
I am the Scarlet Leper, and you call me a whore!
No, I never said you were a whore. I said you were ugly.
I love horror movies that are about horror movies. I love horror movies that are basically just a big love letter to horror movies in general. This is another one of those ideas that can go wrong if you don't do it right, but this is a movie that does it right. All About Evil is not just a tribute to horror movies, it's a tribute to, like, exploitation horror movies, and underground horror movies, and independent horror movies, you know, lower budget, sloppier, sleazier stuff. This movie has so many tributes to the kind of horror movies that I love. There are tributes to Herschel Gordon Lewis, there are tributes to John Waters. So much fun stuff in this movie, especially if you're a fan of, like, the more underground horror movies and stuff like that. The movie stars Natasha Lyonne as Deborah Tennis. She is a quiet librarian who just inherited a cult movie theater from her deceased father. And her father would like to show, like, more underground movies and exploitation movies and stuff like that, like Herschel Gordon Lewis movies and, you know, things of that nature. And she has inherited the movie theater. And the movie theater is doing, it's going down in terms of business. But one day, Deborah snaps and kills somebody, and in some way, I won't say how, that murder is then filmed. And she decides to show this at her theater. And people are watching it and they find themselves loving it. And then Deborah decides to not only show cult movies, but her own short films, where she murders people on camera and then shows them in her theater. So, yes, it is a movie where someone makes snuff films and then shows them to an audience. I had such a blast watching this. As someone who is who loves like independent horror movies, micro-budget horror movies, and likes to check out underground stuff and things like that, I had so much fun watching this. I liked seeing all the little tributes here and there and all the little nods here and there. This is a movie that is just trying to have fun, and it is fun. It succeeds so much at being fun. I enjoy watching the transformation of Deborah. You know, she starts off as this quiet librarian, but then once she starts getting into murder, she becomes kind of sexy and sort of gets into this grungy, gothic, punk rock kind of style. So yeah, murder makes her come out of her shell. Not saying that people should murder, but it's just a fun thing to watch in this kind of horror movie. I was smiling the entire time I was watching this, and it gets, like, the gore in this movie is legitimately well done, and the kills are legitimately well done. Like, again, you're dealing with the whole concept of her making her own snuff films at this point, and so she gets creative with it. And again, you see these little tributes to various other movies. You can see nods to Herschel Gordon Lewis. You can see nods to trauma films, particularly Blood-Sucking Freaks at certain points. And it's a movie that's not afraid to be bloody, it's not afraid to have nudity, it's not afraid to have drag queens and stuff like that. It's definitely kind of this punk rock kind of horror movie, and I just have such a good time with that.
The cameras are rolling! The lights are struck!
And there are so many great side characters throughout the film, because Deborah gets these people to help her out. You know, she gets like this guy who's crazy, and these two twins that are just really messed up. That's kind of fun. And yes, you can definitely tell that it's a nod to the twins from The Shining. But these twins are just, like, they're creepy in a fun way, or fun in a creepy way, whichever works for you. But they're fun and creepy at the same time. It's just a it's just they're I love watching these characters. I love watching these characters get together to not only run this movie theater, but also kill people for the sake of art. It's a blast. This would make an interesting double feature. This is a movie that would make an interesting double feature with certain movies. You could make it a double feature with The Wizard of Gore, because of the concept of people watching murders and not knowing they're real. This could be an interesting double feature with Blood-Sucking Freaks, because again it works with that concept as well. This would probably also make a decent double feature with Terra Firma. Now, Terra Firma is more about making an independent movie, but they are making their own snuff films in this film and stuff like that. But Terra Firma is a love letter to independent cinema, and so is All About Evil. So I think those movies would make for a good double feature together.
A rather large number of fans' unquenchable thirst for gore films that she writes, directs, and stars in, satisfying a rather large number of fans' unquenchable thirst for violence.
And then you have this other character who is a horror movie fan, and he is the one who starts learning that the murders on camera are real, and he's trying to convince other people. But then you have people who think that he's the psychopath because he's a horror fan, which is something that, yeah, I mean, that's kind of a commentary how people say that violent movies make violent people, even though that has not been proven at all. It's like, sometimes people question why us horror fans like watching violent movies, and this is sort of a commentary on that. Because he's a good guy and he's trying to save the day, but because he likes watching violent movies, people are questioning him and thinking he's the sick one, instead of, listening to him and looking into the people who are actually doing the murders. So, yeah, this is a perfect movie for a movie night with friends, especially if you like underground horror movies and stuff like that, like me, and you want to introduce your friends to something to underground movies and midnight movies and stuff like that. This is a good one to do because it is funny. It does have gore, it does have suspense, but it is focused more on being fun. So if you want to have a movie night with friends this Halloween, All About Evil is a great way to go. And especially if you want to introduce some of your friends to more underground movies and stuff like that, this is a good way to go because of how much fun it is. So yes, All About Evil, so much fun, perfect for movie night with friends this Halloween season.
Is that somebody screaming?
We're making a new film.